At the Gluttonous House's feast, a girl in a golden cage caught everyone's eye. Little did they know, she wasn't just some weakling, she's the reincarnation of a legendary assassin, crippled Meridians. That's child's play. With her unparalleled medical skills and a squad of handsome bodyguards, she's ready to show them who's boss. At the same time, in Gluttonous House's private room, a tall man languidly laid on a couch. His gaze rested on the screen not far in front of him. His expression was elegant while his eyes were filled with a proud indifference. The screen displayed a clear scene of everything that was happening with the auction. There was a thin and weak little girl, shut in a cage by several large men. Thick iron chains firmly bound her hands and feet. The man held a wine cup in his hand a moment before suddenly swallowing the wine in one gulp, lightly sighing. What a pity, such an interesting little thing, to have the fate of being defiled by a pig. The guard that was standing silently in the corner of the room couldn't help but quietly glance at him. This is the first time that master has shown an interest in a woman, but it's only a very small interest, nothing more. As the guard was thinking this, the man's expression suddenly changed. Rising slightly to get up, his gaze fixed on the screen. It clearly displayed the imprisoned little girl's face, pale skin, thin face, young and inexperienced facial features. In a split second, that pair of tightly closed eyes opened. Her eyelashes shook slightly, and a coldness seemed to radiate outwards. The man's sword-like eyebrows knitted, his gaze fixed on the little girl's eyes. Black eyes with the depth of an ancient well, as if they carried long-hidden secrets, faintly shone with a purple radiance, so bright and dazzling that in an instant they had captured his attention and made his chest feel an unfamiliar throbbing. Little thing, who are you exactly? How can there be? He spoke softly, looking at the little girl on the screen with an unbridled interest, like a beast that had suddenly found the prey that it had been searching for. The anticipation of a future victory made his eyes shine with excitement. Immediately, the man's eyes swept over Ju Jongba and the guards that carried the cage. The corner of his mouth curled up into a disgusted sneer. Continuing to face the screen, he murmured faintly, "Follow them." To anyone watching, it would seem as if the man staring intently at the screen was the only person in the room. Shockingly, though, a deep voice responded, originating from the guard hiding his presence in the corner of the room. "Yes, Your Highness." Pausing, the voice suddenly asked, "If Ju Jongba uses violence, did this subordinate need to dispose of him?" "Ah," the man chuckled, his voice full of magnetism, extremely pleasant to listen to yet full of contempt. "Based on a useless person like him, it would amount to himself heading down a path filled with disaster. This subordinate understands." As the room quickly returned to its previous quietness, the man slowly got up. The corner of his mouth revealed a relaxed and captivating smile. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. When she woke up again, she was in a bumpy carriage. She was still imprisoned inside the cage. Her entire body, hands, and feet were tied together with finger-width iron chains. Because of the placement of the cage, her visibility was limited, but she could still smell a strong odor nearby. She bit into her lower lip to make her muddled consciousness more clear-headed. The effect of the slave restriction spell was quite strong. The whole journey her consciousness wavered between sober and dazed, causing her mind to repeatedly wander, until the time she completely sobered up. Suddenly the guard's conversation reached her ears. "In the end, who is that slave?" Why didn't her body show any signs of using spiritual power, but was still able to seal our cultivation base? Who cares who she is? As long as young master has the slave ownership card in his hands, just wait until we arrive at Ju Manor. Someone will be found to carve a real slave soul seal on her. At that time the young master can use her however he wants to and it wouldn't matter. Humph, this loathsome lady is merely an ordinary person, but she dared to make us lose face in such a public place. This father is itching to pull her skin now. The invisible needles in her hand flew as if struck by lightning, accurately and quietly piercing into the four guards' sea of chi acupuncture point. The flying swords in the hands of the four guards suddenly halted in midair, followed by a bang sound. They fell to the ground. The four guards' faces filled with shock and disbelief, staring blankly at the faintly sneering little girl on the stage. Suddenly, the one of them screamed, Why can't I use my spiritual power? Evil woman, what did you do to us? She laughed lightly as she leapt into the air. Raising her foot, she ruthlessly kicked the 4 guards who had lost their spiritual power. Under the bright lights directed onto the stage, the slender and petite little girl mockingly looked at everyone surrounding her as she towered over them. Around her were the Foundation establishment stage cultivators that were all howling and groaning. Furthermore, there was also Ju Jongba that had been so scared of her, he had tumbled to the ground to land hard on his buttocks. This scene was simply too shocking and weird. Obviously, this thin and weak little girl seemed like a queen inspecting her territory, making a person's heart tremble in fear but also long to worship her. Ju Jongba's frightened face looked at the little girl, standing not too far from where he had fallen. Originally, he had gotten up after first being knocked down by her, but after his guards had been defeated by a little girl, he had collapsed to the ground with shock and fear. He saw she start to walk towards him, and screamed repeatedly. Rushing over to hold Wu Ya's hand, he yelled, "Save me, save me! That slut in your gluttonous house has caused me such trouble, yet you don't care. I'm your guest. As long as you help me to subdue her, however many yuan crystals you want, I'll give them all to you." Wu Yu remained calm and collected while he separated their hands, his eyes overflowing with interest as looked at he leisurely said, "Young Master Ju, I already said earlier, once the product is sold, Gluttonous House will not have any responsibility. From the moment I handed over the slave ownership card to you, this product no longer had anything to do with Gluttonous House." Wu Ya's words make Ju Jongba's mind go blank for a minute, then suddenly his face filled with an ecstatic light. He activated his spiritual power, condensing it into a small point to frantically pour it into the slave ownership card while nervously murmuring, "Loathsome lady, you are dead. You dare to attack me, this time you're dead for sure." The moment Ju Jongba started to pour his spiritual power into the slave ownership card, she had felt a burst of pain in her head, like being pricked with needles. This feeling of pain was very familiar. When she was at the entrance of the examination room, it had been due to feeling this pain that she had lost consciousness. Damn it, so this is the slave imprint. It's turned out that my body was given a strengthened slave control. His eyes turned cold, exposing her anger, and with lightning speed she started running away to find a way out. She wanted to leave this place right away. Even if she had to die, she absolutely refused to become a slave. Becoming docile and obedient to please others was an insult to her, but she hadn't even managed to run 5 meters away when the pain in her head suddenly intensified. No longer able to withstand the pain in her head, she felt her body fall towards the ground, once again powerless to stop from losing consciousness. Ju Jongba held the slave ownership card tightly in his fist as he very carefully walked step by step towards she, intending to confirm if she really was unconscious. When there was no resistance from he let out an insolent laugh. "Loathsome lady, let's see how you can still be cocky." His foot fiercely kicked his body. "Dare to attack this father? You simply don't want to live. I will let you know that if you dare to disobey this young master, your future will be miserable." At this time, those knocked down guards finally managed to stand. Their sealed dandians had now restored to usual. It was no longer a situation where they were unable to use their spiritual power. Their faces revealed relieved expressions, but when they looked at the unconscious he on the ground, their eyes flashed with fear and bitter resentment. Ju Jongba, with a face full of pride, waved a hand saying, "You cannot even deal with this loathsome lady, still needing this father to take care of her. Shut her in the cage and carry it to go back. If there are any mistakes, see how I will deal with you." While repeatedly answering yes, the guards roughly carried the unconscious she and threw her into the cage, like an animal bought at the marketplace. Swaying with the weight of the cage they carried, they left the stage.